Hello, everybody. Sorry it took me a little while to get on the live today. A little bit of a long day. Was a bit busy. Finally got to it. Let's start. Let's do this. We can start off with the 1 minute as we usually do, but come on, that's not too interesting. Although, I mean, within the context of everything right now, still, regardless, the 1 minute, let's just skip it. I mean, let's be frank. 5 minutes looks like we want to start dropping and correcting, even if a tiny bit, at least for the time being. Uh, am I certain that everything is sort of stabilized? Hard to say. I've waited on purpose. I didn't want to jump in and sort of pre-predict when knowing that the market is going to be extremely volatile. So, I mean, it's going to be unnecessary. We have to acknowledge the gigantic gap that was created between 5,783-ish and roughly about 5,865. Actually, I think it's, well, roughly about, right? So you get the idea. So we have a gigantic gap. I think it's kind of redundant to even mention the fact of the matter that this is obviously going to get closed. I'm assessing within the short-term future, really short-term. That's far too big for comfort. This thing is not going to stay. That's just kind of a given. It has to be more with being familiarized with how the market overall behaves with regards to gaps, and especially when it comes to the S&P and major indices. More so, we got more so sort of a funnel gap because we basically originally had a gap right here, and well, inherently that didn't really close that gap. So, although that doesn't matter within the context of this, obviously to close this gap will probably well, subsequently lead up to closure of this gap. So that's that. I was actually worried about this now. I wanted originally to see that gap being closed, but not in this abnormal way. It is, I mean, no one have to state what is sort of what were the factors that brought about this rally. Is the excitement of potentially the market doing a lot better with Trump at the helm. Yeah, congrats to those who were on that side of things. Again, we're not here. We're not gonna sort of dive into the whose side what. It's that's not what we're intending to do here. But again, I was openly rooting for Trump, so I'm actually rather happy. I think sadly those who wondered and asked whether if Trump's election will make a difference with my predictions. No, sadly they don't. It's just that with Trump, we're probably going to be a lot better off than with Kamala. I do think that he has the potential actually to stabilize the economy. It still will require about 2 years, maybe a little bit more. And we know why that is, and we'll inevitably get to touch upon that chart later as we go. For right now, we see the whole run up that we had throughout the day today printing through this 30-minute chart very distinctively. So no surprise, it sort of makes sense. It goes hand in hand. The thing is that I would argue that we're basically probably squeezing the bejesus out of this, or those who don't understand, these impulses can last for a while, but for so long, so to speak. Of course, we're at all-time high, which we said potentially we can have higher highs. We even said we can make it all the way to the 6,000 potentially, which is extremely unlikely. We're basically running on fumes for so long, and at this point, I would argue that there is no cover from Democratic side to try and pretend the market is doing good. That they will not be propping it up anymore. And I'm sorry to say, but some defenses will be off, and thus potentially we're going to start to see the correction coming in very shortly. Let's see if the technical analysis, if the current tools we're using actually give us any indication of that, right? So the 1 hour is very stretched. We said we were potentially either correct to the downside. We spoke about this before. And then we have the slim that is predicated, basically this entire rally that is predicated on the election yesterday. So we understand where it's coming from. Now, but let's look at we know what often happens when the indicator, where the stochastic RSI happens to be in overbought territory for far too long, we start correcting. So what we're seeing here on the 45 minutes and the 1 hourly, that potentially we're going to go for some sort of a correction, which implies potentially us drifting right back into that hole that we've generated. I would argue that this is potentially enough to drag out all the way back to the bottom, but knowing how the market works, it's probably not going to be a singular movement. It's probably going to be gradual. Market tends to do things in a gradual fashion, so that's not going to be that abnormal. Let's continue. 4 hours, we basically squeezed the vast majority of that momentum. In fact, I'm kind of surprised. As I've said, we're going to start. My expectation was that we're going to see some of that curving prior to making this area. We're basically expecting to see more of this downwards trend. So what we're understanding from this thing, this entire impulse is basically artificially predicated on the expectation that the economy is going to be a lot better that now that Trump is elected. Those who understand here that, of course, with Trump at the helm, things are going to be better, but it does not magically resolve all the problems that are at hand. Now, what are we seeing here is basically the technical analysis is showing, right, what that impulse looks like on the momentum side of things, but the question is, does it really change anything? Now we can skip over quickly, or we can recognize through the gradual movement through these smaller time frames that basically we got another higher point, right? That's something that on the looking at the rhythm of the market, if you will, or the harmonics, to put it in simple terms, this is not an abnormality. It is there is a certain count of impulses that we're supposed to be having before we're having a correction. Sadly, it has several scales, and apparently I got one of the scales wrong, and well, this is part of that same trend. So means we can actually still make it to the edge of that channel, which gives us about 6,000 and a bit, but that could be established within a day or so. So that doesn't take all that long. It's not going to take the entire week sort of structure. And what we're starting to see here is this, right? So we are already starting to see the signs of a correction. Are they going to be that swift? No, remember, we have some bullish momentum that still has to print, right? That has to still show up on the chart, so to speak, so it appears. The question is, will it break prematurely because there will be an artificial sell-off initiated by people's fears of whether hitting the higher highs or whether on individual assets, which we'll look at in about a second. The most important thing here to realize that although this rally looks abnormal and a very quick movement, it does not change the overall structure we've been having on the monthly. It just tightens it up just a little bit here, like you see, right? So that sort of slows it down. At the end of the day, once this starts overturning to the bottom, we will experience more of a severe correction, and corrections that will close the current gaps and potentially bring us to basically the levels we spoke about. If it's the median, if it's the bottom, there's another resistance level that has to be met and tested, 4,818, and subsequently continuing to the downside. Where's the confidence with that? It stems from a build-up towards a larger correction that have been building up on the 12-month chart, and sadly, none of that movement happened today. You cannot see it. It's engulfed inside this larger candlestick. Cannot prevent this from overturning the market. That is the sad reality that we're dealing with. But now let's tackle what we have seen on the individual assets today. Of course, remember, it's not about bias. It's about what we actively see on the market. Again, phenomenal rally. I just do think it will be corrected rather shortly. Do I think it will happen necessarily tomorrow, or is that sort of something that we'll have to wait for about a week or several days to close? I'm expecting it to take potentially a couple of days, not necessarily a week, but I do believe that within the next several days we will magically, or if you will, find ourselves retesting that 57.83. That is my expectation within the near-term future with regard to the S&P. Subsequently, we're probably going to see a slowdown on the individual assets. Now, let's analyze Palantir. I'm pretty sure a lot of people are curious about that one. Hello to everybody who I didn't say hello. Miteva. Okay, I hope Miteva. I hope I wrote that, read that correctly. Danny, hello, what's up? Leah, good to see you around. Hi. Yes, Palantir. Of course, we have to tackle Palantir. The other day I've mentioned this resistance that magically again played its role rather perfectly, but well, we broke through. Normally those who are more accustomed to hanging around with us know that every level usually gets retested at least several times before it gets confirmed, so this is rather abnormal. Of course, we have generated a bit of a gap throughout this process as well, so expect it to get closed subsequently. But well, we are reaching higher highs. A lot of people are asking, what to do. Remember, this is not a channel that will tell you what to do. This is a channel that will show you what the indicators are showing and how we treat what the indicators are sort of pointing towards. We cannot ignore that we are completely out of bounds when it comes to the channel. Look, these sort of instances can happen, but how long do they last? The question becomes basically, do you capitalize on these, or you passively observing and saying, look, on paper, I'm that much profitable, right? And again, I'm not here to advocate for anybody exercising any of their profits, but just to keep it straight, if you do not exercise, you might as well call it meaningless and never happen, right? I would argue that this is very, very extended. In fact, we've expected to see a correction on Palantir a while back, and in fact, well, again, under the market conditions, it sort of goes to show when the market are permissive, the individual assets stretch a little more so. But remember, this is inevitable. This thing, you can take my word for it, or you can follow the history, and inevitably this is very, very overstretched. Usually whenever we get a trend that happens to be so long, we have also a longer correction. Basically, the market almost retains a normal rhythm of movement, even if to the upside, by correcting when we have these abnormalities. But that is what we're seeing on the weekly. Maybe the monthly is a little bit more positive for us. Sadly, it is actually worse for us. Why? Because the monthly is indicating that we're going to go for a larger term correction. Remember, every single candlestick here represents a month. Thus, every column that we move about to the left basically represents a month. Do you actually expect the market to break down within a month? No. So that means at least 2 months of movement to the downside. More so, we really can't expect the market to correct this entire path within 2 months. That's going to be very abnormal. So what we're seeing here is potentially a movement of, well, again, several months up to half a year, and maybe even longer so, to correct this entire path to the downside. The question is, how low will it bring us? Earlier, those who know, I was suspecting the levels of around 14 and 15-ish for a correction on Palantir. Now, based upon how high we got, that actually finally does play into the benefit of Palantir. I argue that that bottom is a bit too far, and potentially the bottom that we will see would be more around the 20 levels, maybe 19s, but I doubt we will ever see the 14s that I originally have predicted. That's kind of Palantir. I mean, at the end of the day, it has pushed significantly beyond any normal expectation, and sadly, I hate to be the bearer of bad news or whatever, or bearer of bad expectations, is that Palantir will correct with the rest of them. Of course, it will probably, my expectation based upon how it's structured right here, it will slide through the 50 and will end up retesting more strongly, maybe the 47, 45, and probably getting locked somewhere here in these levels or in ranges of 45, 43 before it actually breaks down. Again, some of you are maybe disappointed that I'm keep on saying that, yeah, the market will correct. I assure that it would have been far more beneficial for me as a sort of YouTube personality or whatever, growing YouTube personality, to be bullish, point out the obvious, the market is going up, right. I cannot ignore what the market is pointing out on the longer end of things, and sadly, I mean, this is cool. This is actually very good for Palantir in the longer run. This is obviously shows strength for the asset, which means will be dropping slower, meaning when the indices will actually hit their lows, the assets will be basically slowly moving downwards, and when the indices will already find the bottom, That bottom will be correlated to the individual assets, bringing it to a higher low than I've expected. This is why I no longer expect the 14s and 15s that I've originally expected. Of course, we can look at Tesla. Tesla, just like the rest of them, I mean, especially Tesla, factoring in that Elon is, now involved with the government and will be improving the US economy in various things. So, of course, that gives a decent push for Tesla. In fact, this is as close as we ever got to my original selling point, which those of you don't know, I sold at 300. This is the highest we ever got. Conveniently right above a very strong support and resistance level, which is this, right? As the 273 ranging to 260. Let's look at what the momentum is saying about it. In fact, the momentum is basically saying, well, look, although you were able, that's kind of where it's going to contradict. Artificial impulses as such are oftentimes basically being swallowed back by the market within a day or so. This is why they don't print anything that phenomenal. All you see, this entire rally looks like this. That's all it is. It's a cool off on a downtrend. So at the end of the day, I know most of you want all of this to be retained, but those who are more familiar with the market, been around, understand that this gap will probably get closed, and actually this gap right below. We have basically a bunch of holes here. So I know it's unpleasant to hear and it doesn't make any sense to you seeing this rally and everything. The market will bring it back down to 215. And if it's not going to be us directly, it's going to be the automated systems that will recognize these gaps and will play into them. How shortly? Well, let's look at this. How soon will that happen? Well, looking at this structure, there is high probability of the market continuing on that path until it either gonna turn over basically within the day or following day or so, when we're gonna start to see that correction print, or ranging right here the 80 range, which is right before we break into overbought territory and the market actually amplifies the trend and we become more bullish, allowing us to maybe hit the 300 levels in which I originally sold, in which I will feel like, well, we made all the way to the downside and upside, right? There was a bit of a loss there, a lost opportunity, so to speak. Again, this was unexpected. The market was expected to start correcting prior to, based upon what we were seeing on the S&P. Yes, we were able to prolong it, but the reality is, as we saw, is that the indices will start correcting rather shortly and the rest of the market will correct with them. So appears to be that I was a lot ahead, but that was the little bit that was not being able to be predicted. Basically, an artificial move of this sort. It's good only if you capitalize on it, if you ask my opinion. Otherwise, it's meaningless. Bragging that the market is higher today when it's going to drop lower than before within a week, it's sort of meaningless. So the stance didn't change. What do you think about NVIDIA? Nothing much, actually. I mean, we had a decent rally on most assets today, most tech-related assets today, most assets that are related to the election themselves. It's unsustainable. I know I sound like a broken record. Now, I remind you again, I would love to have a lot more viewers on my channel and let my channel, be one of those parroting channels like the rest of them, calling out what's going on. And sadly, I've experienced this the first time around during COVID. I'm kind of tired of this, really, being the predictor of that thing that is not really obvious. And by the time it happens, no one remembers that you were the guy who predicted it in the first place. I hate to say it, but NVIDIA hasn't. For NVIDIA to break to any level that is significant enough, first of all, you need to break the 150, which you were not able, with this entire rally, you were not able to do. Or rather, NVIDIA was not able to do. That means right now we're sitting at 140. 140.76, that is our current resistance. We are right now working, basically, if you want to be objective about this, we actually were able to break all the way through. Now, because we're above it, the way we can perceive it is S1, S2, S3, right? So basically putting S1, my predicted S1 as the S3, we're kind of, we moved ahead, we moved upwards by these two new channels and solidified them. So does that mean that's it? It's all said and done. We're going to stay here. No. If you look on the larger scale of things, all we did this entire rally was able to squeeze just a little bit more out of the current existent, well, upward trend that we had. So in other words, regardless of, it will start breaking soon. And weirdly enough, or not that weirdly, we have the same structure on the monthly as we have with most indices. And so we have basically this impulse that was the third and final impulse. And all we did, it's not like we've established a new impulse. No, we actually just prolonged the impulse itself, giving it another head, giving it another tip, which weirdly enough, by the way, starts to look very eerie. Those who know, again, Head and Shoulders says we are expecting the process of turning around to look like a Head and Shoulders structure based upon harmonics. That is that. Anything else? What else are we going to discuss today? Again, it's kind of disappointing. I hate to sound like a broken record, but we've squeezed the bejesus out of this. This is only a question of when it will initiate. And this time around, actually, something has changed, that we no longer have the Democrats propping up the market. We don't have a lot of fakery that was going on. And now that we're going to start seeing more truthful reports and more truthful approach to the economy, well, let's see. Again, Trump is a win, but at the same time, it will bring about pain that was hidden by the Democrats, that basically the economy is not doing all that well, and now we'll have to deal with it head on. That's the expectation. Sure. Yeah, nothing changed. I mean, with when we're looking at tech, nothing really has changed. We're having the same structure. The only actual assets that I'm expecting to benefit from a proper correction to the downside will be energy, basically. Energy and, well, again, we are familiar with SQQQ, which, by the way, is going to go through a split, which, a reverse split, to be more precise, 5-1. I 1-5, actually. I'm a bit disappointed on the day we had. Expected to close this, but all in all, it wouldn't matter when the split occurs overnight, and tomorrow we're going to have a new price. The gap will be closed, and and thus it would not matter at all. That is about SQQQ. I, by the way, got some more today. I probably should have I probably should get some more while I still can. I should probably get some more. Given that level. Give me a sec. Just a little moment there. And I got another 100 right now. Alrighty. Perfect. Too tempting, sorry. Had to. Otherwise I'll be out of time, and so I kind of had to do this. Sorry for that little bit. Alrighty. Done and done. What about Enphase? We can look at Enphase. Why not? Yeah, 2 more 100 today. Yeah. I mean, how couldn't I, how could I resist, rather? You know? Alrighty, end phase. Let's look at end phase. Um, ENPH, I think, right? End phase, yeah. Let's look at end phase. Why not? Oh, why like that? Why like that end phase? Why like that? What happened to end phase? What is that? Why like this? Oh, oh. And you are not done yet. You are not done yet at all. Yeah, of course, I don't have data for that one, but you're not done yet. You're obviously racing towards testing that SMA, which sits at 64. I mean, you can call it 63, 65 right there, but it's going to move a little bit higher there. So it's just going to be like, by the time you reach it, maybe like a 64-ish area. Um, mm. But then what? What are you doing? What is that doing? Give me a sec. Okay, so you clearly can do that. That's not a problem right there. Give me this one. Now take away that one and lock this one and open that one, and so that makes sense as well. That gives you, okay, right. You are hurtling towards 60. You are hurtling towards 60, and when that meets 60, get back to me. But you're hurtling towards 60, which means right below this, slippage of the SMA makes sense that you're hurtling towards 60, yes. It's up to you. I don't recommend trading anything downwards, which is hilarious to, I mean, from a guy that owns a bunch of us triple Q. I will say that the best way to play it, if you have some faith in the company, if you really think that it has the future and the earnings will turn around based upon the last earnings, you're not been doing all that well. And if you think you're going to have a turnaround on this, then 60 is a good area to start buying in. Otherwise, do I recommend shorting it? No, with this, not with this abnormal market. Being end phase dealing with energy can pop any given second right now. Just like kind of any moment, it has nothing to do with end phase individually. So I would argue that end phase is wait, but has some potential. You're basically scraping the bottom at this stage. I mean, really, if you buy at 60 or 74, are you really going to hate yourself at 120, 130? Just asking. I mean, just math. That's a good question. Yeah, we're not going over management here. I mean, you have to dive into these details, see if you trust the management to take them on the path that is needed to be taken, see what hurdles they have ahead, what kind of problems are they solvable, are they moving in the right steps to solve these problems. And look, if I have to be honest with you, this is not such an abnormal slippage considering the larger cycle of things here. Look, this gonna probably take some time, but yeah, you're not such a bad place to pick it up. I mean, honestly, think about it. I mean, ignore sort of my perception of things, but honestly, will you hate yourself at 130, 200 potentially, right? 140, 160, 150, anywhere in between, because you picked up at 74, 70, 60 or 65, and do you really want to wait for the last second to find that 60 that Greg is claiming that are potential? Saying that they're potential doesn't mean it will turn out, will play out, especially right now. Just consider these sort of facts. There's a reason why we say when we recognize a range of a bottom, right? DCA at the bottom, it doesn't matter. Bottom is not a single line. It usually is a range. The same way the ceiling is usually is a range, right? So it doesn't really matter whether you start DCAing. Just think about it. At 70 or 75, when you're going to reach 200, it's not something that you will in fact think about all that much. That's something that you need to consider. Unlike a lot of other assets, Enphase actually looks pretty decent. I mean, it looks like it gone through most of the ugly phases, and at this point, it's pretty much ready to start moving along within the confines of the first lane, which is basically here. You're gonna. It's not. Don't expect to fly here. Don't do that. Understand that you are now going to be testing. It's going to be a long process until it's not going to happen tomorrow, right? It might take several years, but you get the idea, right? This actually has the potential. Yeah. So that's that one. But again, you're not done with you're still gonna drop potentially, like I'm saying, before you're gonna go higher. So don't expect tomorrow for this thing to break, towards 200 and whatever. No, that's not how it's going to work. And probably you're going to test this zone, which is 221 right there, and 200. Basically, it's like above the 200. Within the 200 range, you probably going to see lots of turbulence back and forth, up and down. Sure. Oracle. Let's do Oracle. Let's do Oracle. What did I do? Oracle. We love Oracle. Oracle. Damn. What you doing there, sir? What you doing? So you're basically, I see what you're doing. Right. Do I really have to say, Leo? This is not normal. This is so. I mean, I know that I sound crazy with every day the market goes a little bit higher, and everybody's like, Greg, you're nuts. Let's see. Let's give it some time and let's see how nuts I really am. This is so gonna correct. In fact, I'm curious. You know what? I am so curious about this one. Right, so. Okay. Mm. Yeah, I got it right at least. You are screwed with this one. Yeah. Your highest highs are 196. If you get to 196 and you're still in it and you didn't sell, you're a madman. That's all I'm gonna say. Okay, I didn't miss anything there. I hope. Could you take a look at SQ? Damn it, I missed one. Thomas, my bad, brother, my bad. I will take. Leo, we can take a look at this together. Leo, remind me to take a look at Oracle with you together, please. We're gonna do that together. Thomas. Yeah, SQ, brother. I just noticed. My apologies. Square, right? That's what used to be known as Square. It's what's his face, Dorsey's. Yeah, Leo, we're gonna. Yeah, it's that one. Yeah. Okay, that actually looks not as nearly as bad as I thought it will look. What is going on here? Why is this so bullish? What? Okay, I see. I mean, okay, okay. So, Square is good. Um, yeah, Square actually doesn't look all that bad. Um, right. Mm, This is not the final impulse. I'm forecasting another impulse to take you. Shit. I'm forecasting another sort of impulse kind of thing, right? So a higher, this sort of thing, right? But don't panic here. Don't panic at 80, and you'll be good. Yeah, I mean, ish, right? You already done half of this. This total makes total sense. I'm not hating on this. Thomas, this is a good one. Mama, thank you so much. By the way, boys and girls, yeah, hit the like. We have remodeled our Discord for $10 a month. You get to join a whole bunch of amazing stuff on the Patreon. Mama gave you the link right there. Join up. You're gonna get to join the Zoom calls, hangouts, hang out with me, talk to me pretty much on a daily basis, ask questions, the community, all sorts of cool benefits. I hate selling the thing. Just give it a try. I'm sure you're not gonna get disappointed. The link is in the chat right now. Those who are not familiar. Um, I'm not mad at this, Thomas. I am actually not mad at this. This is not that bad. Unlike last time I've checked this is not that bad. Like I said, SoFi. Dwelling 1170. We don't have to. It's obvious on the screen. 1170 is your support resistance, is your actual median where you're actually at right now. SoFi is gonna go. We've gone through SoFi so many times. It's kind of soon I'm gonna be a professional in SoFi. Tell you what, to try and get it really precise. Mm, you may be, if the market will stay on this direction and trend as is for the next week or so and will be permissive, you're gonna get 1269, 1262. This absolutely possible. This is absolutely possible. But I would argue that's going to be the highest high you'll see in a long time and get ready for a correction to the downside. And SoFi, with the rest of them, will go down. SoFi, so good if you already been running it. SoFi, not so good if you plan to hold it. SoFi will be doing absolutely beyond the shadow of a doubt 9, 10, 885, 797, 7 within the near term correction, then probably another retest of that wedge that will be created, and then a movement to about 5, 4. So SoFi is doomed with the rest of them, in my opinion. You can say I'm crazy, remember, just a madman's opinion here, right? One been saying the market will correct and the market is not correcting, so maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. What? Wait 1 second. I'm missing out stuff. I really need to go back, guys. Wait. Um, Major Impossible. No, we've gone through that. I didn't miss this. By the way, I'm Polinka. Bad War Gang. My children tried to open their YouTube channel a few years ago. I think they misspelled. It's okay, dear. Good to know that this is you. I wouldn't expect that to be you. Remember, I hope you got your stuff sorted out on the Discord. I will be joining Discord after this live, and feel free to converse and ask me your questions about the SQQ. We can discuss it gladly. Please about Palantir. Okay, we've gone through that part. Of didn't miss there anything. Thanks for guys. Absolutely. By the way, likes. Thank you. Likes, dislikes, all are greatly welcomed. I appreciate them all. They're free. I swear. How much down SoFi in the big correction? For it actually, because before it was hitting 11, when it was still doing the nines, it would have still been a potential two, high twos and low threes. But because SoFi had such a decent run up, I would argue that it actually has raised up the bottom, meaning the indices will hit their bottom and the SoFi will still sort of sliding towards, and that bottom will end up being correlated with the indices at about $4, 5 if it's super lucky, high threes if it's going through a bad period and people are worried about it. Remember, it's easy to judge right now how bad things might, like, it doesn't make sense, but remember, when things get really iffy, people get really scared, and you can actually see them breaking even lower. And it's hard to imagine that now, but when it does get to that, suddenly it becomes all obvious, quite potentially an obvious thing. Okay, ASML. ASML, I'm actually, look, I'm stupid bullish on them, but not on this price. I mean, they're still stupid high. This is so not normal. So I'm giving this is 300. Which yearly? Yeah. I mean, we discussed this. I remember discussing this, that ASML will still go down. It has a decent chunk of the way to go still, right? Yeah, it has a decent chunk of the way to go still. Give me a second. I'm gonna see something. Just give me a sec. I'm gonna try and figure something out here. Right? Uh-huh. Okay, sure. Absolutely. Wonderful. Yeah. It's actually an easy trend there. Oh, come on. And that's why such things are done on a larger time frame. Oh, thank you. Yeah, okay. So your next destination is that 508 588.98, call it 590, call that 550 because that's too close for comfort. That's basically sort of gives you a psychological some just right below that and right above that. So you basically have a bit of an extended range right there, but still, that's your range. That is that 588.98 if you really want to be precise on the numbers, and that's 559.96. That is your golden pocket that the market will retrace to when the trend will break. And when you get there, we can rediscuss this again, because it just sounds all that simple and close and nice. That's not how shit works. If anything, you're probably going to do this right now, this wonderful wedge, and eventually break here. So that is that. Mara. Yeah, sure. Absolutely. But wait, one second. I think let me just make sure I didn't miss anything. Well, we said, why is this pump? Do you think correction will start? Hope, that's a good question. We're so behind. I've expected the correction to start months ago. So we're behind. Any moment now. Any moment now, we're good enough. The market is more than ready to break months already. So what will be the catalyst? Hard to say. Sometimes it's an event that is not even in the cards, right? But basically, it's not that we've made extra movements. The market cannot make extra movement. It just can stretch the ones it needs to do. That's the only thing that happened. We stretched the final leg of the race to beyond abnormal highs. It's this, once it breaks, it's gonna be very very ugly, because the overall structure, that what defines how low we go, not the last leg of the race, if you will. And what people don't realize, the cycle is a lot larger. Oh, Rocket Lab, right? Yeah. RKLB, something like that. We just looked at that yesterday, I think. We can do that, no problem. We can do that. SML, why is my SML there? And my this is this, and this is everywhere. Everything is all over the place. Let's do RKLB. R RKLB, right? B or left. Okay, right. I mean, yeah. We spoke. I remember. Yeah, you're look. You squeeze the bejesus out of this. Get ready for a correction. You have a little bit more droplets, but you're going down. You're going down to 10. This is your level. This is what's going to be retested. Get back to me when you hit 10. Pretty simple. I'm sorry. It is pretty simple. I'm so sorry. We can go over this on the Discord, but really is pretty simple. You're stretched to death. This is just completely stretched, and the coincidence of 9, that SMA creeping up on your 10. Polino, this is textbook correction to 10. You didn't hit your 15, which is your next psychological level. You're not gonna hit it as well. With as far as you're gonna go, you may be gonna dwell on that ceiling a little bit. You're going to 10. As soon as the correction hits, it's 10. Probably you're gonna be stuck at 10 for a while, by the way, as well. 10 seems to be like a strong area that didn't really get retested, so I'm not gonna be surprised if you're gonna test 10. And maybe what's the previous level? 7-ish. So 710, 710. Eventually you're gonna end up staring at this, doing something like this. Like, well, again, pardon my horrible artist skills, which, yeah, not that great. Sorry, it was too fast, but yeah, something like that. All right, let's do that. We done Mara. We were Mara doing Mara, right? Where's Mara? Mara. Yeah, I said Thomas. Let's do Mara. Why not? Let's do Mara. Mara is on an uptrend. It's gonna retain this, it seems. It's trying to retain the trend you're in right now, this one. This beautiful thing. But I don't think you're done testing that median. So I think what you're gonna try to do here is revert back to median. Maybe even slide below, retest, 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 go back though. So it is bullish, but an ugly bullish one. It's not really straightforward. So you are going down, right? But for the purpose of going up. This. What it seems to be creating a narrative of here, which you are obviously testing on the weekly here, your median as well, is this one, right? But since you've already tested, you're actually basically the market is trying to bring it to here, to here to really be probably kind of that that thing. I mean, to be more precise, but it will probably gonna end up doing something. That. One second. Wow, that's ugly. Yes, I'm fairly sure of it. Seems like okay. So all the bearish momentum that you will feel rather shortly is going to be very short term, bringing you to test this junction, eventually bringing you back upside, retesting, but the market wants. What was that? What did I do? Okay, that's just junk. No one cares. So, but yeah, the market wants to bring you higher. Market wants to move higher to that 50, 45, 50 maybe level, if depending on how. No, 45, 40, no, 50 is high for it. It doesn't have a 50. It obviously has a 50 because well, everything has a 50. Here makes sense. Yeah. That's I'm not gonna be surprised with the discrepancy. So basically, that's Mara positive, and that's another positive one. Snake pattern, snake banana pattern. No, but that's actually positive. So meaning if you're gonna have temporary short-term price action that will be bearish, it is temporary, and actually Mara in the longer run is actually bullish. So depends whether you'll be able to deal with the unpleasantness of doing something akin to this, because that's what probably going to do to you, torture you a little bit right there. Move you around this, maybe test, confirm, or test, confirm. Or rather, first down, up. Well, again, I kind of exaggerated this, so it's more like a ta, 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 ta. Well, actually, since actually could be, yeah, test your hires, retest, wedge, 50, 40, 50 area, that final stage. So it's like a three stage process, if you will. That's it. Actually, Mara is actually positive. I think last time I checked it, I was kind of on the fence with this, and you had some of that negativity to squeeze up, but that's actually not that bad. Sure thing, Thomas. Sure thing. All right. Well, boys and girls, think we ran through all the tickers. Market. Hope rushing, not timing the market here. Greg, TA helps keep us aware. Absolutely. Oh, absolutely. Reverse head and shoulders. You're right. Like, yes, hit the like as well. Yeah, thank you very much, Mama. boys and girls, hit the like Mama says. There is a how much in percent you think we should hold S triple Q. Wow, that's such a complicated question. I mean, I'm basically, you might as well call it. I understood. Yeah, I understood the question. Mm, uh, um, damn it, I forgot the name. Bedtime Wars. Polina, yes. Join on Discord. I will be glad to discuss the answer to that question. It's just that it's not that simple. It's not that simple. Join me on Discord. I'll gladly explain my thoughts on that. Alrighty. See you on Discord then. Bye for now. Everyone, you all have a good evening, and thank you for showing up. Sorry for being less energized. It was a long night. I was watching pretty much throughout the night the election, following it up on the live and everything. So that's why maybe I'm a little less energetic than usual, but don't worry, everything is absolutely fine with me. See you on the next one, and see you on the Discord. Bye for now.